Michigan State, they add another defensive back out of the transfer portal. This one, Lejond Cavazos. What will this mean for the defense coming up? And then Michigan State basketball. That's right. They've heard your cries. They could be adding a center. Okay, yeah, let's talk about it with Dave Klein. Let's go.
You are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Spartan friends, Spartan family, Locked On Spartans listeners, thank you all so much for tuning in to Locked On Spartans, your team in green and white, 5 days a week. Please rate, review, subscribe, comment below on YouTube how you're feeling about how things are going for football, basketball, or just your life in general. We are here for you. Also, lockedonspartans@gmail.com. If you have any questions, comments, whatever it is that you need, we got you. Again, lockedonspartans@gmail.com. Second, third segment, we will be joined by the one, the only Dave Klein. This guy is all things Michigan State basketball because, well, this is a big day potentially for MSU. There's a lot of smoke around Longwood center Szymon Zapala committing to Michigan State. That is all the rage on Twitter right now. Full transparency, as we are recording this portion of the show, there has been no commitment yet. It is expected today, but things fall apart all the time. And hey, maybe he does commit between now and the time we talk with Dave Klein later tonight. That's why all this language and past tense, future tense, whatever is all jacked up. So that's a confusion, kind of somewhat cleared up for you there. But right now, we're going to talk football because Lejond Cavazos, he is the latest Michigan State football player to be reeled in from the transfer portal. Now, what is this guy all about? 6 foot, 200-pound defensive back from North Carolina. He has 2 years of eligibility remaining, and he did tweet out when he committed to Michigan State that this is his last one. I don't know if it meant last stop because, well, this is going to be his third stop in college. Started at Ohio State, went to North Carolina, then Michigan State, or if he's just going to play for one more year. But that's a future us problem that we can sort out next winter. Right now, we're getting a guy that has some promise, right? A guy that has actually showed that he has the goods for Power 4 football. Last year, though, not the season he was looking for. He played less than 10 snaps, just played in one game against Syracuse because he battled through a meniscus injury. Suffered it right before the season started last year, and then really only played, again, I think it was 7 snaps against Syracuse, so not too much ball at all. With that said, it's not like we're getting damaged goods, someone that hasn't shown anything in his entire career. The 2022 season, he started the last 3 games for the Tar Heels. He played in, I think it was 11 games for the Heels, all at cornerback, too. And this is from Al Karsten. If you don't follow Al Karsten on Twitter, go follow him right now. He does great with Michigan State, Lions tweeting. Football guy _Al is his Twitter handle. He pointed this out, too. Class of 2020 4-star safety from IMG Academy. Now, if you don't know what IMG Academy is, like that is a breeding farm for top-tier athletes. He also won the fastest man at the opening regional. That is a massive recruiting showcase event. So he's got a strong pedigree. And I know that, there's that theory out there. It might not even be a fear. It might even just be patent fact that if the number one thing you're saying about a guy in his 4th or 5th year of college is his high school ranking, that, well, odds are he didn't really pan out to what he was supposed to be. Sure, there is something to be said about that. But this guy's coming off a big injury. He has shown that he can play solid football in his career. And this comes from not just me, not just a big Michigan State fan that wants you to like this guy. This is from Chris Hummer of 24/7 Sports. This was a story that was written about Cavazos when he entered the portal. Quote, he started multiple games down the stretch for North Carolina in 2022 as the Tar Heels made a run to the ACC championship game. The San Antonio native was back healthy with the Tar Heels this spring. He's talking about the one that just wrapped up and spent a lot of time working with the 1s and the 2s. He was expected to play a big role for North Carolina in 2024. So this isn't a guy that, okay, he's hurt, comes back. Now he's just jammed so far down the depth chart that he's not going to find a way on the field in Chapel Hill. And that's why he entered the transfer portal. Now, this was a legitimate loss for the Tar Heels, and that has turned into Michigan State's gain. And that's not the only time that's happened with this very position this offseason. Guys, just a few weeks ago, maybe be less than a week at this point, but Ed Woods out of Arizona State, projected to be a starting cornerback for the Sun Devils. He leaves. Head coach Kenny Dillingham over there in Tempe, he talks about how big of a bummer it was to lose out on Ed Woods. So that's two corners that those Power 4 programs did not want to lose, guys with vast experience. And here they are right now in East Lansing. I got to say, that is some mighty fine work by anyone that is associated with Michigan State football, whether it be Jonathan Smith, Blue Adams, Coach Meat, Joe Rossi. That is some great upgrading in the last few weeks in the corner room. I mean, it is more than just depth, guys. We are talking potential instant impact for next year. Like, I do want to pump the brakes here. I mean, this isn't going to be Darqueze Dennard and Trey Waynes all over again. But, man, when you were looking around at what Michigan State had in the cornerback room, like let's call it 2 weeks ago or the day before Ed Woods committed, it wasn't just end of time scary, but it certainly wasn't an ideal situation. We're looking at Chance Rucker and then Chuck Brantley as your starters, which fine. Like, those are guys with experience. Chance Rucker, I'm very high on. I think you guys out there are very high on. Showed some promise as a true freshman last year, but still, it was after those two guys. All right, it's the depth. You got guys like Ade Wiley. 109 snaps on defense last year, most of them in the last month of the season. Like, that's some good experience. Then freshman Andrew Brinson or Caleb Coley, who played 19 snaps on defense last year. Samar Melvin, who played 0 snaps on defense last year. Now you add 2 instant impact guys, and now it's like a 3-dog race for who's going to be the 2 starting cornerbacks here, right? You got Chance Rucker, the promising true sophomore. You have Ed Woods, the guy that's coming here from Arizona State we just talked about, and then Lejond Cavazos. Those 3 guys are going to be competing for the starting role, and it might be Chuck Brantley as the odd man out, but that's depth, that is experienced, that has played throughout his entire career here. So now the cornerback room, I mean, it was going from a big concern, borderline like, oh God, this might be the weakness on the team, to you're feeling okay about it. Again, I'm not expecting Michigan State to go from one of the worst secondary cores in the nation over the last 3 years to top 10 in the nation, but I mean, that is some great ground covered there for what you did in that room. Now, could Cavazos also be a guy that adds safety depth? I do wonder this. So far in college, he has been primarily, again, a corner out there on the wide ends of the field. But with the safety depth being what it is, perhaps he could slide into there too. This will be a lot of learning for Cavazos here in East Lansing to kind of go back and forth between corner and safety, but it's not impossible to think or do. Right now, at safety, we're feeling okay about it, right? Sure, Jaden Mangum leaves. Not fun. Malik Spencer, Dylan Tatum, 2 guys, vast amount of experience, both really strong players. That's great. You don't worry about what's going on there. But let's say, just crazy thought, I know this never happens in East Lansing. This has never happened to Michigan State, but let's say some injury issues pop up and one of those 2 guys get hurt. Okay, you have Armarion Smith as your backup safety. He, showed okay flashes last year. I don't mind myself some Armarion Smith. But then where are we going after that? If Armarion Smith, God forbid, he turns an ankle and he can't play for a game, we're going right to Justin Denson, the true freshman that has not played any collegiate football. Like the safety depth gets very, very shrunk after the first few guys. So could you slide Cavazos up there if need be over to that safety position? I see some versatility with this pickup out of the portal. So that is why, hey, I'm all about this. You get an experienced guy. You get someone that has played different positions throughout high school and in college. And hey, there you go. Not going to hate that whatsoever. Now, this is a little different because yesterday we were talking about linebackers, defensive tackles, and how you have to get young talent you can develop. I don't think the youth in the cornerback room is in such a dire situation as a linebacker and defensive tackle. So that's why I'm whistling a different tune right now. And getting an experienced guy, a guy with only 1 or 2 more years of eligibility, is just perfectly fine for this defensive staff. So in the near future, maybe this week, maybe next week, I want to do an episode where we go position group by position group, and we talk about, okay, who got better, who's just the same, who got worse. But instant impact right now, or instant reaction right now for the corner room, guys, I got to say, I'm feeling pretty high on it right now because last year, who were your starters? I think it was Chuck Brantley, Dylan Tatum to start the season. Right behind them, Marquis Lowry, and then true freshman Chance Rucker. Now, You get as seasoned of a true sophomore as you can be, Chance Rucker, coming back. And then you add 2 guys that were going to do some damage at their Power 4 schools before they entered the portal. And hey, smelt the roses and saw the green grass here in East Lansing and decided to jump on board. All right, guys, we're going to switch up sports here again. We're going to talk with Dave Klein of Spartans Hoops, of Spartans Illustrated, I should say. But first, need to talk your ears off about LinkedIn jobs. And hey, for all you small business owners, this one is for you. Let's say you want to find quality professionals that are just right for the role. Well, you just have to go check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and, my favorite part, guys, for free. Now, LinkedIn isn't just a job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals that you cannot find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new role, but might be open for the perfect role you have. In any given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking at LinkedIn, well, point blank period, you're just not looking in the right place. Join the 2.5 million small businesses that use LinkedIn for their hiring. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions, they apply. Join the basketball party. That's right. We have Dave Klein of Spartans Illustrated over there. We are here not talking about a commitment. In the first segment, it was kind of weird. Like, I wasn't sure if he was going to commit at this point of the day. But right now, DK, the reason we're talking like this isn't to, jinx something into oblivion. Very reputable sources are seeing Szymon Zapala, Longwood big man, transferring to Michigan State, whether it's Crystal Balls on 24/7 Sports, whether it's Jim Comparoni over at Spartan Mag, or Rhode Island's color commentator tweeted this out as well. Rhode Island was one of the final teams for him, that it seems like things are blowing to Michigan State for one Szymon Zapala. DK, we want a center in the portal.
we got one, possibly.
Mission accomplished. That's right. Look, really quick, I'm just going to rip through this. Szymon Zapala, 7 foot, 240 pounds. He was the backup center at Utah State for 3 years, then transferred to Longwood, where he did not start against Houston to end the season, and bits and pieces throughout the year last year. 16.5 minutes a night for Longwood, averaged 9.8 points and 5.6 rebounds. 65% finisher at the rim. That's the same percentage as Carson Cooper, granted on double the attempts as Carson Cooper. 51% on all other 2-point attempts. 66% free throw shooter. And again, this is all against Big South competition. My quick take before I'll clear out the lane and let you go ISO ball, DK. It's fine. No disrespect to him. I'm sure he's a great kid. I have heard that he's a great teammate, but it's fine. It's what I got.
Yeah.
I mean,
listen,
we got the center.
Talked about this just like kind of towards the end of the season. And then, I wrote a bunch of articles on Spartan Rivals just about how this to me was kind of the line in the sand moment for this staff, where you're saying, okay, you need a wing, you need a center. If you shore up those 2 positions and you show the ability to have some adaptation in this new era in NIL with the transfer portal, I think that, you can at least feel good about where the trajectory is going. This type of ad, I don't really get it. I think from a perspective of the program, it seems pretty clear that he feels comfortable rolling into the year with Jackson Kohler and Carson Cooper as kind of the 2 guys. Yeah. So this to me is the staff saying, here's a depth ad. Maybe we think we can get a little bit more out of this guy. There's been some conditioning issues that worked so well with the last conditioning big that you had, right?
Great.
So we might as well give this a run. I mean, yes, nice positional size, 7 foot, 240. Like, you appreciate that. Sure. He finished 67% of his attempts at the rim, where most of his shots came, I think 91%. Yeah. He's a below the rim 7-footer who couldn't get on the floor in 3 years for Utah State. And again, I agree with you. I'm not trying to hammer this kid. This is not a situation where I can line any blame at the feet of him. I would love to come play for Michigan State too. Maybe I should have rolled back a year and gotten myself in shape, because that's kind of how I'm feeling about it. We've had 4 years of watching an inferior product. The last 2 years, out of the 14 teams in the Big Ten, I think we've had the 13th out of the 14th best center spot. And the 2 years in which we didn't have the very worst one is because of Penn State. And Penn State rolled 4 guards and a forward one of the years. They didn't even play on center. So I don't know at what point I can sell this as like everything is fine. I'm kind of losing my mind a little bit. I can't see how you can assess this position with 4 other teams from the West Coast coming in. You know USC with Musselman is going to be recruiting very well in years to come. This is the first year. It's a transition year. I think he's kind of mismatched the team. He did that last year at Arkansas. It didn't work out for him. Who knows what it looks like this year. I think Mick Cronin's the real deal. I think he's a good coach. I know that they had an underwhelming season last year, but they were also one of the youngest teams in the country. He went out and got a guy in William Kyle, kind of like a 6'9" Cohen Carr. I don't think he's a starter quality, in my opinion, when I watched the film and I was kind of digging into him. I don't think he's a starter quality. But I think with 2 years left, he's a ceiling raiser. He's a guy that's going to catch a lob and block some shots. Yeah. Like there would be an upgrade there, at least from an athletic and motor perspective, I think to some degree. You look around the rest of the conference, Indiana had Renault, who very clearly could have played center. No doubt about it. Mabako is probably better suited as a 4. They said, you know what? We're going to go grab 2 guards because their guards weren't good enough. We're going to add a 5-star wing, but now we're going to tell them to come off the bench. And we're going to go grab Omar Ballo from Arizona, who's maybe the best double-double guy in the country. And then you look at Michigan. Obviously, Golden, was lined up to probably come there because of the Dusty May, but they went out and got Danny Wolf. And I know academics came to play in that. 2 guys that they added. And you're just kind of starting to look like Kerry Booth went over to Illinois. Like there's just all these teams in the conference that were capable of adding quality level front court players. And Michigan State is operating in a different realm right now. They're not operating as if they're a top 10 program. We haven't been in the last, 4 years. And are they even operating as if they're a top 25 program? That's what I want to know. And I get it. Like the money that was coming out for these kids, great. Osobor getting $2 million. What a waste of money that is for Washington. They're not even going to make it. Right. It's absurd. So I get it. I get that the money is absurd out there. But the fact that you're telling me you couldn't have added a quality 20-minute a night big, like there was not enough of a hard assessment, a hard enough push when there was enough guys in the portal. You could have added a quality big that didn't need to be even a starter quality, but maybe just know that you're going to have a safer floor. And the fact that this is the decision to add a third big to the rotation, that you're not even sure if he's better than the 2 bigs that you have, that we already know have some issues. And if you want to shine this up a little bit and you want to say, there's some marginal increase that can be had from both those guys with Kohler healthy and Cooper maybe taking another step, that's fine. I can have that conversation. Yeah. But you're going to start the season outside the top 25. Are you ever going to find your way in it? You have a point guard who unfortunately got shot and fractured his leg. And it was nice to see him post that video where he was moving well and he hit a mid-ranger, got to the rim, hit a 3. It was just nice to see him back playing basketball at I don't even care that it was a pickup game. It was just nice to see. Right. But you still don't know exactly what you're going to get out of that because he's basically running back his freshman year. Akins is moving to the 2. He's now your primary scorer. That's a little bit scary, I think, heading into the season. Frankie Fiddler is a nice add. Is he even a top 10 wing in the transfer portal when it's all said and done? I don't know. I think it's a nice add. I think he can be a double-digit scorer, but it's not like it was a home run. You could have hit 2 doubles with your big and your wing, and I would have been content. But this is not that. You hit a double with the wing, and you had a pop-out fly in the infield with the third add. And even if he contributes 8 to 10 minutes and he gives you a couple good minutes, you're admitting that you had a need, and your decision to fill that need was with somebody that you were fighting with VCU and Rhode Island, Wichita State. Yeah. Nobody was looking at high major. So in that instance, you might as well just have kept Maddie. I hate to be that guy, but at least Maddie was getting looks from San Diego State and California. I can't wrap my head around this decision when you're relying on so many question marks heading into the season. Is Booker going to take the jump that he needs to be good? Sure. I think this team is fun. I think they're going to have a lot of shooting. The 2 through 4 now has some shooting and spacing. You hope Fears is healthy. Holloman takes another step, and he's coming off the bench, which I think is exciting. I think that's a great role for him, backing up the 1 and the 2. You have Kurtang coming in. Garrick Norman hopefully can give you some shooting. Like, there's lots of shooting coming off the bench. You're really too deep at every spot except for the center. You don't know if you have a starting caliber center, and you're rolling the dice again. This is Michigan State. It's a top 10 perennial program, and we're acting like we're a program that can't even compete on a top 25 level anymore. And like, that's where the frustration for me lies, that we've watched the product for the last 4 years. We've had the complaints at PG in some spots. We've had some complaints like the Sweet 16 year. Like, if you had a center, that team would have been better. If you had a center last year, you're probably a 5 seed. Like, and now we're going to run this back when you have all these question marks up and down the roster and you don't know what you're getting, and you're saying, no, we're going to roll the dice again. Who's the one that's going to develop them? Like, is Doug Wojcik going to continue with the bigs? We don't even have the assistant coach hired. Go out and get the best big man recruiter. Go out and get the best big man developer. Like,
sure,
who's the guy that's actually going to develop them? Short of the self-work this summer, I don't have faith in the staff of developing the position. If that's what they want to do, then go hire somebody that's a bona fide big man whisperer. Or Tom Izzo needs to take that job for himself and develop those guys. Like, somebody else has to take that mantle and say, I'm deciding to run this with the roster. Therefore, I'm responsible for that position. If it fails, it's on me. I just don't know what else to say. We're going to get Hunter Dickinson and KJ Adams very early in the season, game 2 or 3, whatever it is in the Champions Classic this year. And when we watch those guys, collectively score 45 points and grab 20 boards on us, like, I can't just keep having these conversations. I feel like I'm losing my mind a little bit. And I think we're just getting to the point now where, how can I come on here and say, like, this year for sure is going to be better than next year? You lost Tyson Walker. You lost Malik Hall. Like, I think there's some addition by subtraction that went on. There's no doubt about it. I think the vibes of this team are going to be better. I think the bench is deeper. Like I said, the shooting. But, like, this is a fringe top 25 team and probably will be for most of the year. It looks like it's heading towards another 7 to 10 seed. And then you just hope that you get the right matchups and you catch a little fire and guys start playing. But, like, that's what it is now. Like, that's where we're headed. Yeah. So I'm sorry for the, like, never-ending rant here, but I don't know what else to say about.
Well, this is why we have you on for straight talk. Like, you're never one to just, like, shine the turd over there just for the sake of doing it. Like, that is some real talk. And DK, like, first of all, before I go any further, like, I think overall it's still a fine off season. Like, you kept Booker, you kept Akins, you added Frankie Fiddler, who I think is a really nice piece.
Yeah,
but it was line item number 1 on the to-do list: get a center, get someone that can average 9 and 6 in Big Ten play, not Big South play. I don't think I was asking. Okay, we weren't asking for the moon. We weren't asking for, your great Osabar. But look, it's also keeping up with the Joneses here. Like, you do look at everything else that's going on in the Big Ten. Indiana adding their big men in Ballo. Michigan adding 2 big men. Even Ohio State, Aaron Bradshaw joining the mix here. And then all of a sudden,
Stewart, it doesn't even make sense. That front court doesn't even make sense. You can't tell me that one of those guys wouldn't have come here. If they had Aaron Bradshaw, they could push it. Sean Stewart, 6'9", like, no great kidding. Offensive rebounder, great athlete. At the very least, you have 3 years to be able to develop something in that. Like, yeah, we didn't even talk about Ohio State. I don't even think that front court makes sense, and I'm still jealous to a certain degree.
It's an embarrassment.
2 former McDonald's All-Americans and took a flyer at it.
An embarrassment of riches. It's crazy. And, like, just to throw this out there too, it's not just 2 cranky fans that are just saying, well, okay, this newest addition would almost mean nothing to Michigan State. I want to throw up some Torvik numbers for you out there, DK. That's right. Everyone finish your drink. We mentioned Torvik on Locked On Spartans, as we always do in Talking Hoops. You can add and subtract players. It's called their roster tool. It's great. They'll spit out some numbers at you. Before adding Mr. Zapala, Michigan State's their adjusted offensive efficiency, 114.5. Defensive efficiency, 95.1. That's 20th best in the country. Sure, these are just computers. You add him, DK, it's the same exact numbers. You don't improve at all offensively. It's still 114.5, and defensively is 95.1, spitting out a ranking of 20. Like, it's not just us trying to stir the pot up and be Mr. Negative Nancy here. No, it's the computers telling you that this was a 0 of an addition should it happen. Like, and tell me, DK, this is the question I keep asking myself here more often than not in the last few months, is would a blue blood do this? Hey, we get bent out of shape when Michigan State is not added on the blue blood list. Like, is this the behavior of a blue blood? Would they just add a bench player from Longwood when they have a glaring need at a position? No, but I understand the money is out of control here. Just like you said, Osabar just got $2 million to go to Washington. Balo, it's been rumored somewhere around $1 million. So here I have 3 questions. Or no, I have 1 question, and the answer is one of the 3. See, the coach thinks that Cooper and Kohler are truly good enough for next season, which, wow. Okay, wow. Or 2, MSU actually doesn't have the NIL to compete with all these other schools, which I think is a little doubtful. Or number 3, MSU does in fact have the NIL, but Izzo doesn't want large sums of money given to transfers to screw up the chemistry in the locker room, screw up the culture, this, and that. When in the end, I don't know, I think a good culture could just be winning basketball. Call me crazy, but it's got to be one of those 3, and I would pay a large sum of money to get some truth serum to find out what the answer truly is between those 3. That's my last take on it. DK, if you just want to take us home.
3. That would be my guess.
That's my guess too.
I think that the resources aren't available. I think that he is still having a very hard time about the way in which it's going. And I think it's crazy. Like, I think it's absolutely crazy out there. Obviously, the big men were scarcity and therefore a commodity, and they got overpaid. Like, no doubt about it. Right. But, like, if the numbers that were thrown around for Frankie, which I think were pretty reasonable, were true, then you should have – every year you should have $4 or $5 million in your NLI bank, and you pay the guys that stay. You absolutely do. You take care of those. I think Michigan State clearly had to do that for Booker and Akins. I think both guys were probably approached this offseason. I have no doubt about that in my mind. Yeah. You're able to retain it. You did what you needed to do there, which I think that they do deserve it. They deserve a clap because the Akins chatter, again, was very prevalent. I think it was very possible he could have gone somewhere else, and then they would have had to add another body, and that would have been even scarier. But you look around the rest of the conference and you see everybody dumping bags. I know that Michigan State has donors to be able to pay. I think that the problem is, the head coach doesn't view the system in that way and can't really wrap his head around the valuation for it. And again, crazy valuations. But when you have a glaring need and you have a position that is scarce in the portal, that's the going market. That's literally the American economy.
That's how it works.
Market system. Right. So you have to pay the piper, and that's unfortunate. But if you're not going to do that, then can we maybe recruit a center from high school and develop them like the old school way? Because we're not even after anybody that I'm aware of in the 2025 class right now.
No.
And you got Jesse McCulloch. I think he's probably more of a power forward than he is a center. Right. But to me, this is one of these ads where it's like, okay, so you needed a body. You added a body. I guess it's nice to have a 7-footer in some instances when you're playing against some of the better bigs in the conference and you need to throw multiple bodies at it. That's a tactic. I get it. That's fine. But at the same time, does this take away from maybe Xavier Booker's moonlighting in that position, and then at least you're drawing that other center out away from the hoop? You're playing, maybe more of an offensive-minded game, and there's a stretch ability and a little bit more floor spacing. Do I want to see that for 20 minutes a night? No, but if it was for 7 or 8, are we removing that off the table now as a result of this ad? I just think this probably adds more questions than it does answers for where this has kind of been heading. And let's just take a 1,000-foot view of it.
Yeah.
I think Booker's probably going to play one more year, right? If he has the season that we think he can, if he's just say he's a 10-4 guy, I think that's a reasonable floor for what he could be. If he's a 10-4 guy and he shoots 36% from 3 and takes 4 a game, and he's 6'11" and has some guard skills and can finish at the rim and shoot, that's an NBA prospect, probably a first rounder if he puts it together for 25, 30 minutes a night. So he's gone. Frankie Fiddler's gone. Jaden Akins gone. You better hope that all those freshmen you've got in the last couple classes end up being pretty good. Like, what's the plan going forward, I guess, is kind of what I'm seeing. If you think that you're not going to be able to retain Booker after this other season, after this next season, which, okay, if you somehow find a way to work your wizardry and he stays 3 years and you land a class with Bundalo and Easter and maybe some of these other guys, then we're having a different conversation. But I think a rational view of it is this is probably Xavier Booker's last season.
Yeah.
So Beers is going to be a junior. Who's on the roster that you really feel comfortable stepping up and seeing this program traject upwards? Like, this is an ad where he's got 1 year left. You're throwing a body. So you're basically saying McCulloch is probably not getting any run this year. So you don't even really know what you're going to have in him. And then you're going to probably lose Booker. And then so we're just basically saying that this is our center spot for the next 2 years. And maybe we find a guy in 2025 to add to the mix. Like, this problem isn't going to go away. We're just going to have this same problem next year with less talent on the roster. Kind of what we just run in. It's the trajectory of the talent is not heading in the right direction. And are we due for like a Kurtang pop off and Garrick Norman being good and maybe a couple things working our way? Yeah, we absolutely are. Yeah. But like banking on some of these potentials and looking at what you're going to need to do to revamp the roster, it's not like this offseason is giving you the warm and fuzzies, feeling good about having to maybe fill 2 or 3 spots next year and figuring that out. Like, I don't know. I think I'm just at the spot now where this is what maybe the program is going to be for the end of the tenure. And like, that's a really hard pill to swallow. And I don't, I feel like we have to preface this all the time. The man will be in bronze outside the Breslin when he decides to hang it up. And it's his prerogative when he wants to do that. I don't want to make any bones about that. Like, but the fact that we continue to have to preface some of these conversations with that probably is not like a great thing, right? We're coming to the end of the tenure in a new era. And this offseason was kind of the one where we needed to see him like do what he needed to do to be able to push Michigan State back into the mix. And maybe we have a surprising year and it works out and they end up being a top 15 or 20 team. But like, this team isn't going to compete for a national title with how the roster is built. I feel very comfortable saying that. We'll see Kansas and you'll see what a national title roster is going to look like very early in the season. And it's unfortunately not going to be Michigan State. So I just, the standard at this program set by the man himself is to make Final Fours, to make deep runs, to win Big Ten titles. When are we going to get back to that? That's the question that I have. It's 4 years going on, 5 now, where I just don't see it. I just don't see the program trajectory heading in the right way. And it's, it just deeply saddens me. I think that's kind of the point that I'm at. Like, I'm just going to have to take a little bit of an emotional step back and just set very low expectations heading into the next couple years. And if they surprise and he goes on a miraculous run, which I hope he does, then rub it in the fans' faces. I really hope he does. And people can cut this clip up and come back at me, and there'll be no one that'll be happier to be proven wrong. But like, it's hard for me to watch the last 4 years and to see where this is going and think to myself, like, everything's okay. I can't lie to the people. No. You know what I mean? Like you said, shoot it straight. This isn't good. This is not a good sign. So that's where I'm at. And I'm sorry this was a depressing rant of me just going on, but this is not good.
Well, I do have good news, and that is that one day the sun will engulf the earth and none of this will ever even matter to begin with. So we have that to look forward to in the next anywhere from 5 years to 500 million years. I'm not sure. I'm sorry. I was just Googling when the Champions Classic was, November 12th. I'm doing literally anything other than watching the game that night. Do you want to go? Do you want to go somewhere, DK? We'll go to Dave & Buster's and not look at a television the whole night, or
no? I'm a sicko. I'm going to watch every minute of it.
Yeah, I know, but
I don't know. I just I think that this team could be fun. I really do think this team could be fun. I think if Fears and Booker pop and Carr is playing his right position and you got some shooting and Fiddler actually is a good ad, like there's a lot to like about this team. And if they just went out and got a starting caliber center, I think, you could talk yourself into this being a top 15 to 20 team. You know, and I just think it's really hard to do it. And again, maybe these guys end up being more serviceable than not. That's highly possible. And a bunch of the guys that they need to pop, but like just so many question marks heading into the season, and you didn't show up the biggest one, which you knew going into the offseason that it was the biggest question mark. So,
well, folks, despite the tone of this last 23 minutes, I still love talking with you, DK. You are truly the best. Folks, Spartans Illustrated, DK, the whole gang over there doing fantastic work. Tomorrow, I think it's going to be a little more upbeat. We talk with Alex Kirshner of the Split Zone Duo podcast. We talk some football. We're going to talk about the tight end recruit, too, that we skipped over. But, folks, until then, eat Arby's. Enjoy the rest of your week, and go green.
Go white.